He wants his hand up.
Okay.
Hi, welcome to Obscuria Filmcast, where this episode we are reviewing Crimes of Passion from 1984, directed by Ken Russell, starring Kathleen Turner, Anthony Perkins, and John Laughlin. This movie was recommended by Abram. So, Abram, could you please tell us a little bit about this movie?
Okay, well, I discovered this film, this really raunchy, weird film, when I was in high school, because I had a friend who was a little older, and he watched a lot of B movies at his house. This was when I was living up in the country for a couple years, and he'd go to the video store and get all these really weird B movies. This is not quite a B movie, but this was just an obscure film that kind of came out of nowhere, and it became like we just loved how weird it was. I'm sure we probably did LSD or mushrooms once or twice while watching this movie, but this was a movie we would watch regularly. So it was one of those things. One of those things we discovered we couldn't believe it, and it became sort of like a cult classic among me and my peers. So the first thing I'm going to do is read a review of this film to give you a sense of how the critics felt about it. This is by Rick Lyman for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Ken Russell's repulsive new movie, Crimes of Passion, is the latest cockroach to crawl out of the psychosexual sink, full of artsy self-importance. It fancies itself an innovative exploration of repressed middle-class kinkiness. You may have heard something about the movie in recent weeks as this a contemporaneous review, as you can see. As New World Pictures fought to have the film's X rating changed to an R. Russell hacked out a bondage sex scene and a few other snippets to make the result sexually palatable to the people who rate movies. He should have kept hacking. Kathleen Turner, the recent star of we lost it. Hang on. Coming right back. Kathleen Turner, the recent star of Romancing the Stone, and one of the and one of the best heavy breathers in the business, plays a sexually uptight career woman who liberates her depraved desires by dressing up in a blonde wig and trolling the midnight streets of the city, pretending to be a hooker named China Blue. She's not a hooker for the money. Sorry, this is hard to read. Indeed, in one scene, she wraps her bubble gum in a $10 bill. No, this is getting exceedingly, I'm reading this off of like microfiche. So,
Okay.
yeah. Bear with me. That's how old this is. Okay. No. She informs us that she's a hooker because it's the only way she feels safe. Say what? She explains that when she's playing her sex roles at sleazy hotels, she feels completely free and can manipulate her hapless tricks like puppets in Punch and Judy shows of her devising. This all would be just fine and dandy if I'm sorry, I have to stop here. This sounds like a fucking awesome movie.
Yeah.
Yes, I all the critics are equally divided on this. You had some people who are really praising it because it's totally off the wall. It's completely bonkers. It's completely surreal. And that's the whole point. That's what Ken Russell does. Ken Russell doesn't mess around with ordinary movies about ordinary people. He takes ordinary stuff and blows it up, explodes it into this insane. It's almost he's not even a filmmaker. He's got his own genre of narrative storytelling. Like all of his films are very musically crazy. Like the music is always imposing. It always imposes itself on you during the film, so that it's almost like the soundtrack is getting equal attention to the movie. It's almost just as important as the film, not just some incidental thing to carry the film. And he makes no exception to that rule in here. And in his many other films, he's clearly very much a music lover. He got Rick Wakeman to do this wacky, crazy score, which is basically kind of on par with the wackiness of the whole movie. I can't recommend it enough. And if you don't want the spoilers, now would be a time to click off. Go rent the movie on Amazon Prime or wherever you can find it. Maybe you'll find it in the dollar bin at a thrift store. You know, there's a good chance that could happen. But if you want to be sure, I think you can get it on Amazon for a couple bucks. Honestly, don't rent it; just buy it. This is a movie you're going to want in your collection. All right, so let me get into the synopsis real quick.
And if
very
I may,
short synopsis.
If I may, you were right on the music stuff, because in 1971, Ken Russell directed The Music Lovers,
which was about Tchaikovsky.
Oh, and then he did The Who's Tommy in 75.
Yes, and then he did Mahler, which was about he did Listomania about Franz Liszt. He did 3 movies about classical composers.
And there's one called Valentine.
And I'm a huge fan of classical music, so and movies. Obviously, I love Ken Russell. As insane as he is, he's not everybody's cup of tea. But if you like wacky, zany shit, he definitely delivers. Here's the synopsis from Eleanor Manica. Joanna Crane, Kathleen Turner, is a cold workaholic sportswear designer, divorced and dedicated only to her job. Once strapped into that role, Joanna looks for an out and finds it by donning a wig and hitting the pavement as a $50 a trick hooker named China Blue. Explicit scenes show her at work on her night job, including the long S&M segment with a policeman. While making money as China Blue, Joanna runs into a menacing fanatic preacher, Anthony Perkins, who is out to save her from this life of sin. But in the meantime, he is also busy watching nude girly shows. As China Blue and the sexually ambivalent Reverend heat up their relationship, he becomes difficult to read. Is this psycho Reverend a killer? While China Blue is plying her trade, Bobby Grady, played by John Laughlin, has finally realized after 12 years of marriage that his wife, Amy, played by Annie Potts, is frigid, and just as he has this remarkably delayed insight, he is assigned by Joanna's boss to find out if she is stealing designs or not. By tracking Joanna, Bobby sees her transformation as China Blue, and as might be expected, sex is not far behind. So that's a lot of the stuff that you got a lot of that from that negative review, but that kind of gives you a synopsis without giving too much of the details away.
And if I may, there was a cartoon in the beginning.
A cartoon, correct? Excuse me?
Yeah, there was a cartoon in the beginning.
What do you mean?
Am I?
Is it what the kids were watching?
Yes.
That wasn't a cartoon.
Yeah.
It was something. It was weird.
Okay,
but
this is what it was. The kids were watching something, and then he told them they had to go to sleep, and then it pans to the screen, and then that became like almost like a music video.
Yeah.
Mhm.
With like really weird, like married couple, like throwing all of their wedding presents in the pool, and Rick Wakeman, who plays the photographer.
Yeah.
And like it's the main theme song of the whole show, of the whole movie. Like that theme is going on. So it's basically almost like a musical sort of overture, and then little snippets of the themes from that little musical overture, which they did this crazy music video for, that tells a little bit of a story about what this whole movie is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
That's actually a classic Ken Russell thing. He did it in the Mahler movie. Seth, I showed you that. The one where Mahler's sucking up to it's almost, I think he's like trying to kiss. They have Wagner's wife dressed up like a Nazi, and he's like climbing the mountain and renouncing his Judaism, and it's a crazy music video.
Kissing a pig head.
He's like, yeah. And he's like he's forging a Star of David into a cross, and like becoming like a good I guess German Christian Protestant, whatever.
Protestant, baby.
But it's a crazy zany music, and it's sort of a depiction of like the tension in Mahler's life. It's kind of like a little music video that tells you the whole story of this guy's life. That little music video in Crimes of Passion is sort of telling you the whole story of the misery of this married couple and the dysfunction within their marriage. And that's supposed to be like kind of set the tone for the rest of the movie. That's the way I interpreted it. But, I've seen this movie like 5,000 times. So.
All right. While we're on the music, one more thing. Abram, could you explain the Irish synth music? Because there was a lot of that, and I didn't understand that.
Irish synth?
Yeah. There was
I've never I've been doing music my whole life. I've never heard of an Irish synth.
That's why I wrote it down. It was weird. It was Irish music, but played with a synthesizer.
Okay.
Rick Wakeman is definitely influenced by the music of the British Isles.
Yes,
like he
sure.
made a bunch of albums. I had Journey to the Center of the Earth, and I used to listen to it all the time. That was my introduction to Rick Wakeman.
When you said Irish synth, I got confused thinking that an Irish synthesizer is an instrument, an Irish instrument. Okay. I understand what you're saying. A lot of that music, it's kind of a combination of like what Seth's saying. Like a lot of Rick Wakeman's style is centered. I'm a big fan because I'm a big Yes fan. A lot of his solo stuff is centered around like English folk music, but also classical music. So I think it was sort of a blend of the two. I think some of the themes that I think that melody is actually based on a classical composer, and I can't remember who it is or what it's from. But that's he's influenced by a lot of that stuff. Folk, British folk music, European classical music, all that stuff is a big thing for him. It's totally wacky, the music, right?
Yeah, that's why I wrote it down. Like, what is going on here?
It's amazing. I was talking about, I really looked at the acting and how the music was changed by the acting. You know, when you go to a musical and a character like crosses the stage, or Mr. Rogers goes from one place to the fish, and they always go, they have a fish theme, and his footsteps are kind of like a character's footsteps go with the score. Sometimes it's like that. Like Rick Wakeman's score like frames certain scenes. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's wacky music. Like the music there's a pretty intense scene, and my mother said, she closed her eyes and she said, just tell me when it's over, which she hasn't said about a movie.
The prop scene.
Is it the scene with the policeman?
Scene with the policeman, yeah. And I was just like, listening to the music.
I can't believe you watched this movie with your mom, Seth.
My mom,
one movie I would never watch with like my mom.
Can I just say,
look, I have a strange relationship with my mom.
What?
I saw the girl with the dragon tattoo in the movie theater with my mother. So that like 7-minute rape scene, I kind of saw with my mom, and she was yelling at me that I brought her into this movie.
Wow.
But I didn't know that
I never saw that
in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Did I miss out by not seeing it? I mean,
it is a good movie without that rape scene. If they took that out, honestly, it would have been better.
Yeah.
But seeing this with your mother, wow, everyone should maybe try and watch this movie with the mother or the father. Because remember when movies came on cable, or you got a movie that you wanted to see, and maybe your dad or mom wanted to see, and you didn't know there was going to be a love scene in it. That was most of my childhood, like being really close to and making friends with kids who also would admit the same thing happened to them and describe this uncomfortable feeling. So my mother was in and out. She was definitely not there when I saw the most beautiful nipples. And I wasn't breastfed, by the way, which is also interesting that I saw it with my mother. So I have a thing, that I'm trying to get over. And it reminded me of Uta Hagen's statement, I don't like nudity in films. And this is right around the same time she said this. There was a lot of nudity in films then. She played how many hookers or people interested in like hanging outside and like picking up a man in her career? I think she might be tied with Jennifer Jason Leigh. They played every type. But the thing is, my point is, what was my point? Oh, Uta Hagen said, they take their clothes off and I go right out of the story. I'm just thinking, wow, she has rather large nipples, but not these nipples. These nipples are like a silver dollar with 2 aspirin stacked on them.
Are you talking about Kathleen Turner?
Yeah, I'm talking about her. Yes, her nipples.
She's got crazy. Yes, okay.
She's got perfect. She's got the kind of nipples that were perfect then, and she's got a body that, if you look at it against today's standards, it's just the average fit woman standard now.
Yeah.
You know, like
She
it's a
knew how to
beautiful
use her
body,
body.
but it's
Yeah.
real. It's real.
I actually
And-
like that about it.
Yes, I love that about it.
That she was real, like a normal, non-perfect, but
Can I just say
attractive
this
woman.
like one thing about this? It's like she was slutty, but she didn't have giant breasts, and it's
No.
like you don't see that a lot.
No, because this is the
That's
period.
all I'm saying.
Well,
This
she
is the
had.
period where big fake implants and small, nice little implants of augmentation were all over the place. This is the period where not only were there classy movies like this one, but there were movies that were wacky where models, they used to joke about models turned actress, or like Playmates who got a part. They would just run through a movie, you know, with their boobs hanging out. And there is some of that, but the woman is real. Like the first peep show woman's body is like, it's completely real. And you're like, wow, this is someone who's been dancing like this for a long time.
Yeah.
You know?
But another thing that's interesting is that for a movie like this, where you would think that a movie that's all about sex and prostitutes and whatever would have tons and tons of nudity in it. I mean, there isn't really. The reason we remember these scenes, these nudity, whatever, is because there wasn't a whole lot of it. I mean, there's a lot of sexual stuff and innuendo and weird, but there isn't a lot of like actual. Like there's the scene. The movie starts with a fellatio scene, but you don't actually see anything.
And she's dressed as Miss America.
And she's dressed as Miss America. And you know what?
Yeah.
It's a very
Lady Liberty. Sorry,
Lady
Oh,
Liberty,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's more. I think how it's so over the top in terms of how crass and vulgar it is.
She was
And
Lady Liberty.
it's like and it's silly, and it's silly, like the kinds of banter that they have and the stupid shit that they say to. There's one little theme in the whole thing. Every single guy, every single trick that's trying to sleep with her, or afterwards wants to get intimate.
Yeah.
And she has a shtick that she does with them where she plays along, and like the first guy's like, I hope I wasn't too rough, and she's like, no, you know, after what I've been through, she's like, yeah, I heard about what happened with your old man, and she's like, it's all made up, like you can tell.
Yeah.
And
he says, you really cried about it the first time.
Yeah.
And she's like, I got over it.
Yeah.
Like she's always has a smart ass answer with these guys, which makes the scene with Ben, the old man, whose wife picks her up, so moving.
Yeah, it's actually really moving.
It's moving.
You go in and out of
Glad
this
they
movie
put
being
that
like,
in.
is this movie a joke or is this movie actually trying to say something? And if you've watched it, like if you watch it all the way through, you realize kind of trying to say something. I don't, you know, it's kind of trying to make a point about like, I don't know. I don't recommend that you take away, that you leave your wife and start dating a prostitute or whatever. But I think it was trying to say something about like, on the one hand, from a man's point of view, that men don't feel like they're valued, weren't feeling like they were being valued in the marriage or something. And from, you know, I think with the woman's theme is like, it's so hard to be a mother and to wife and a full-time job. And like, wouldn't it be fun to just have this alter ego or something? I don't know. It's hard to say what the movie's really trying to say. But it is definitely trying to talk about like the bullshit unhappiness the amount of unhappiness that was going on in the 80s in marriage. But I think a lot of it is just like an expression of decadence, because this is like a period of time where like America doesn't really know what it's about. Like this is when around the time that the movie Wall Street came out, you know, greed is good.
It's all about being a yuppie.
Yeah, it's all about being a yuppie, and like it's embracing the yuppiness. It's very vapid.
The hippies all became yuppies, and also, you know, he's in a kind of, they don't say whether it's an actual 12-step program or a supports group for men with a shrink, but you know, he goes to it.
The group has women in it too. It's a mixed.
Oh,
group.
okay, yeah. So it's about Yeah, so he's lying in it. He's there lying the first time you see it. And his friend, who is one of the greatest guys who was in that thing, Peter Davidson. You should look him up on IMDb.
Is he the blonde one?
Bruce Davison. Sorry,
Bruce Davison, not Peter Davidson. Bruce,
different guy. Wait, is he the blonde one?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's in X-Men. The first one.
He got nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Where did he get nominated for Best Supporting Actor for?
Longtime Companion.
Yeah, he is a great actor.
He is
in it. There are some performances in here. I think, guys, what I saw from the movie, and I focused mostly on the acting, and the way the love scenes contrasted, because there aren't scenes like that in movies anymore.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, whoa.
They had a massive sex scene, and they did it silhouetted, and it was.
Oh no, I wrote about that. I wrote a poem about it. I thought I was writing notes, but I was writing a poem. Okay, hold on. Here's my poem. Her body's beautiful. Her nipples perfect. On a body that is real. In a normal sort of way. Nude, except for the wig and the stockings. She sucks his big toe. Always in the flashing light. The scenes always take place in. The sex in Doggy is in silhouette. And then it changes again with Wakeman's music in it, like a dance in a musical. And then we are in the dark realism again with the spying preacher like Norman Bates. Then back to a slightly less real, more stagey studio shot of the two together. The lead and Catherine playing the $50 hooker who later raises her rate to $100. That's my poem. Dedicate that to Ivory Soap. It's 100% pure. And they mention Ivory Soap in this movie. And they also say she can't be a slut. She's from Ohio State. And my brother-in-law would know because he married my sister. They both went to veterinary school at one of the best veterinary schools at Ohio State. So remember, at least in the 80s, if you're looking for a slut, she wouldn't be at Ohio State. They really whack. That's like the only time you really know about locations. They never name the city, right? They never say where we are.
I wrote that down too.
My rabbi went to Ohio State because he wanted to find a place that had lots of shiksas and that was the biggest party school in the country. So I'm not sure. I think that's probably some kind of a facetious like joke. I think that's kind of probably a sarcastic joke.
Abram, next time you see him, go Buckeyes and watch him.
Yeah, they just respond to it.
They do, right?
Not as much as Michigan people do to Spartans, but the Ohio State, they react to go Buckeyes.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Judy, you've been so quiet. Tell us.
Yeah, I gotta take this wig off because it's itchy.
No, I don't. It's so beautiful. Oh, look.
No, she's going from China Blue to Joanna Crane.
Joanne.
Oh, well, whatever her name is.
Yeah,
okay,
Joanna
so
Crane.
I'm torn about the movie because I like that it was weird because I like weird movies. But for me, it had some flaws in it. And then here's a question. I'm not sure if the writing of the dialogue was brilliant or bad.
I noted that. I said, this is what happens when British people try to write like an Odette's play or a Miller, and it comes out like Bukowski poetry. Like they're speaking Bukowski poetry. And it's not always consistent. Like there was no script doctor or producer who said, you go in and out with this these poems, this poetic dialogue.
So when they opened the film and he's in the support group, I'm like, I felt like they were gonna pull back and go scene. I was like, is this an acting class?
I thought it was an acting class.
The way that the dialogue was scripted or they were directed, I don't know. I just was like, are they acting? He's doing a terrible monologue. So that's how it kicked off for me. But there was moments. And
I think they wanted to use, just sorry to interrupt. I think they wanted to use, they wanted his character, what was his, McLaughlin or Laughlin?
Yeah,
Laughlin.
They wanted him to be, they knew that he was a little green and sort of like jumpy. They wanted to use that to their, they actually kind of like prodded to get him to be that sort of goofy, awkward dad.
Wait,
character
who's they?
that
The
he was.
director or the people in the meeting?
The director
Okay.
wanted to use his greenness and his discomfort about being opposite Kathleen Turner because he was a nobody at that point, really. And they liked that, and that just so I think to answer your question in short, they wanted this to be as zany and wacky as it was, but and they wanted his because he was good in this.
I
mean, he delivered the best. I think his flaws worked for the film. I don't know. Maybe
also,
Seth thinks that they could have picked a better guy for the supporting role.
I could. Annie Potts is a great actress, really great character actress. Ghostbusters. She was on Designing Women. Did she save that show?
Love and War, a sitcom.
Wait, I'm sorry. I interrupted Judy. I want to hear.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. That was my next issue, was the whole marriage and her character. I just felt that her character was so one-noted.
Yeah.
Like at the party scene, it's like, dude, she hates her husband.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it. So of course he's gonna leave her. She hates him. Like, look at how she treats him. Not just in private, with the whole bedroom scene, but even when he's like doing something, him and the other actor were doing like a little scene or no, he was pretending to be a penis.
Yeah, he had a penis dance.
He was a penis that spit out gum. And she was just so disgusted by him, and I just was like, oh, she hates him. So I just felt like that her character never really, it started out, she doesn't really like her husband. And then she's like, maybe I make a mistake. Maybe. It didn't really go anywhere. I thought because she's such a great actress, it missed an opportunity.
I hear you. It's not like it's not really a great, I don't know. I think it's kind of an interesting role. Here's the thing. Do you really think there aren't couples that are kind of like that?
I would just
absolutely.
I would just cut that through line. I would cut those scenes down so I could chop like half an hour off this movie. I was so bored.
It was so predictable. Exactly.
Yeah. That's when I would get up to go get another cup of popcorn.
To me, the scenes with him and his wife were like sort of trippy, but maybe that's because
Let me just remember the scene in bed. They were in bed together, and they had that whole talk. That was one take. It was like 3 minutes. Yes. And he had a lot of two shots. He had a lot of long takes, and the actors, and he moved the camera into space.
He wants you to know they're shooting on a studio in certain shots. He just wants you to know they're on a studio.
I just like it when there's a lot of two shots, and instead of just like establish and cut back.
He's like, here's the thing about Ken Russell, and I think this is why I like everything that's bad about this movie. It makes me like it more, and obviously everything that's good about it makes me like it. Ken Russell is. I get the impression that Ken Russell is constantly making fun of movies, like the whole thing. He's saying, "Don't take this shit serious." You're sitting down for 90 minutes to be entertained. Like, what do you care what I do? I'm just gonna do some shit that I want to do. I don't think nobody makes movies the way I do. I'm not gonna play by the rules. I'm gonna do what the fuck I want. I'll do the bare minimum of what I need to do for this to be considered a movie by people who like movies. Okay, I'll give you a plot, a storyline, music, but I'm gonna do it all in a crazy way, and that's it. It's just gonna be nuts and weird, and like I don't care if you like it, and I don't know. I think because every movie that he does is like that. He's never made a movie that's satisfied. Like
Women in Love is straight. Women in Love is not comedic.
Okay,
it's beautiful and like.
He's telling you I could make this a normal movie, but I don't want to because why the hell should I? Like Jodorowsky and all these other guys. See, that's the thing, because on some level, the movie appears like it's like trying to be a normal movie. That's why it's so genius to me, because you're questioning, is this a normal, like, what the hell is this? You don't do that when you watch a Jodorowsky film or a what's his name, the other Mulholland Drive, David Lynch film.
Lynch.
You don't do that. You say, "Oh, I'm going into David Lynch land. Oh, I'm going into Jodorowsky land. I know what I came here for." But it's almost like Ken Russell's fucking with you more than they are with his style of movie making. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
But I totally get the critics. I love it's like I would never want to read a positive critical review of this movie because the negative ones get it completely right. It's just I love it for all the reasons that they hate it.
It's like you mentioned David Lynch before, and with this movie, I really think that David Lynch stole the look of this film for Blue Velvet, which came out 2 years after. And that's right, the lights. The lights that are kind of like this,
flashing lights,
this, and
then there was flashing lights in both movies too, right?
And
the pulsing lights,
light from the neon pulse.
Yeah, like a neon pulse, yeah.
And that hard light that was non-diegetic in the scene. There was also the investigation from civility to dirty underworld. And I guess in this movie, Anthony Perkins, who was amazing in it, was the antagonist. And in Blue Velvet, they had Frank Black, and they're a little different there too, but they were both worshipers. Like Frank Black got worshipped by his gang, and Anthony Perkins had his own little soapbox.
Yeah, just weird cults. Yeah, it's interesting. Wow, bro, did you just notice that, or
I did?
Research it. That's an incredible catch.
Also, the antagonist is someone detached from reality and dies reaching up into convention. The lack of exposition for the character motivations. There's zero of that. Kathleen Turner only says something. She alludes to who are we to decide somebody's fantasies, talking about herself wanting to be a $50 trashy prostitute, and she like slept with a bunch of dudes. And what you were saying before, it was like I did like that scene with the old man in the end because it expanded sex work. It's like sex work isn't just this one thing. In some aspects and in stages of life, it is like a legitimate, respectful thing, that like an amazing gift you can give to somebody.
She gave the money back in that scene, though.
She did, yeah, because she knew she was like giving a gift of her body, somehow fulfilling these men's like needs, satisfies her more, or something, which I really
interesting
did
take.
like. And it seemed like in the movie there was it was 42nd Street when it was 42nd Street. Like when it was like a bad joke, like, yeah. I'll see that on 42nd Street.
Yeah, I saw that's what we said when we were kids. I saw your mom on 42nd Street.
42nd Street, this was it.
The Deuce. We saw your mom on The Deuce last weekend. What's that all about?
You, as I've said before, growing up in New Jersey, but people may have not seen that episode, so I'll tell the story again. We would wait for someone to have a car. They're old enough to drive finally, and you're sitting around bored. And what do you want to do? Let's go get pizza in New York City and look at hookers.
Yeah. Now you're talking.
So it was 1988. We went in that, and I think we went to like Sparrow's or whatever it was called, the really bready bad. Is that
original famous Ray's Pizza?
It wasn't
the one and only.
My character in with Ice-T mentions Ray's Pizza.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We went to Ray's. That for lunch. You go over together. No, we met there. Anyway, see, I can still do it. But I'm old now. I was 31 when I did that one. Anyway,
Law and Order.
Law and Order. But anyway, the thing was about it was this awful bready pizza, and we all knew that, but you don't know how to get to like the Village and where the Mulberry Street, where good pizza is. You even know to like get a slice of Ray's down the street.
And you weren't going there for the pizza. You were going there for the hookers.
We were going to look at hookers. So we basically got a bread with baked tomato sauce on top of it and a little cheese. Like imagine like this much bread. And kind of that's like
a movie theater pizza.
They used to call that a Sicilian slice. I believe they now call it a grandma's slice.
Well, no,
Grandma's.
that's different.
Is it?
Sicilian is thick crust.
And yeah,
Grandmas are just regular. They're just square pizza.
but they're square.
They're
Okay.
thin crust.
Okay. I thought that the Sicilian pizza might have mutated over time, like the New York bagel. And some people are like, no, grandma slice was like this.
Oh, you know, old Italian grandmas, they're not great at like flipping circular pizzas. So they just get a square pan, you know, make the dough real nice, and then for the kids, and they would bake pizza in a pan like that, and it became like a tradition. And then they took it from the home into, I guess, a bunch of kids got when they turned 30 or whatever, they decided, you know what, it'd be cool to make grandma's squares the way they did it in the neighborhood when I was growing up. And then that became a thing over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Who knows? If somebody knows, they can comment.
Yeah, if we're wrong.
I was saying, it just reminds me of elementary school.
You used to go look at hookers and get pizza in elementary school?
What?
I asked Judy if you used to go and eat pizza and look at hookers in elementary school?
No, I was just in the lunchroom in Long Island.
Okay.
Very boring.
Yeah.
Where were you in 1988, Judy?
I was in second or third grade.
Third grade, okay. And then, so in 1983, if you saw this movie.
84?
84 is this movie or 83?
Yeah, 84.
I was in preschool.
In preschool, wow.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't show my 4-year-old this movie.
I was 2 years old.
Not at all.
I was 13. I was 13 when this came out.
Oh,
I remember this was a time when my friends had cable and I didn't. And you would go over and you want to watch it. We'd stay up late, and there's always a movie after, like something, and it's like Endless Love, and it's just like endless love. Like, where are the boobies? Where is the butt? Like, this was the time when, like, I remember doing that as a young man. I was like, I would feel weird about it because, like, your friend is a guy and he's like watching it too.
Wait, that's a segue into something, an interesting fact about this film. It did not do great in the box office. I think it almost broke even, but not quite.
It did. The budget was $3 million. The box office was
2.9. But it did fantastic on home video.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
You're alone.
Yeah. I wonder why. Hey mom. It's a romantic comedy. It's not a porno movie.
No. Honestly,
how much of that shit was going on in 1986 or 7 when people were renting this shit? Sorry.
I remember that this was the time. This was right around Body Heat, right? This is after Body Heat.
Body Heat was 82.
Okay, so I guess I was listening to Howard Stern. I was listening to WNBC. And a radio ad came on, and it was for Playboy. And it was about the fact that they got to interview Kathleen Turner. And I was sitting on the couch with her, and she had that look. That look? And that's when I turned the tape recorder on. It's like, if you want to hear more, buy Playboy. Like, this was when Playboy was almost, and Bob Guccione and Hefner were like at each other's throats to beat each other. And that's right when the Reverends started to like get those out of 7-Eleven. They have to be in a brown paper bag or gone, cover.
Yeah. They weren't wrong, by the way, those Reverends. Look at how crazy it's gotten at this point.
No. But I remember trying to like buy a magazine with my comic books. And the guy was like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait to grow up a little bit more before you can have this one. But all of these, Hulk, Alpha Flight, and the Avengers Annual, you can have those, little man. And I was like, okay, all right. By the way, on that note, there's a woman who plays a hooker in this movie. Her name is Pamela Anderson, but she's not Pamela Anderson. But she has been in Showgirls. Like, she has a consistent.
Are you talking about the woman who's in the Peep Show?
I don't know, because she doesn't have a picture on IMDb.
Oh, okay. No. That's a different person then. This person is credited like in the pretty like clearly as the girl who, like, when when Perkins is just sniffing. That's the best scene where Anthony Perkins is just sniffing coke, just mumbling prayers and staring at the peep show girl, and he's the only one there. My God, those were the best in the whole thing. That woman who's just kind of dancing like she really doesn't want to be there.
Mhm.
Peep show.
That's how it was too. I'm told.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't know.
I wouldn't
I was
know.
too young for that shit.
I
Too
got
young
a
for
question
that.
for Judy. I got a question for Judy. Judy, in Crimes of Passion, when she was doing a trick for the cop, was she also pegging the cop with his baton?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought so.
And then
I
he
thought it
spit
looked
on
like
her.
it was going really far in, and I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's Ken Russell.
That was like 2 minutes.
I don't know if that's possible. That's actually what I was thinking. I was like, I don't know.
That wasn't in the theatrical.
Bottle.
That was one of the things that wasn't in the theatrical release. So like this was the director's cut, what we saw.
Okay.
This
I
was
was
all
just
the shit that
Judy
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say to Judy on that question how deep it could go. A guy went to the hospital because an entire liter of Coca-Cola went up there and got stuck. He closed down and it was stuck inside him.
Man,
he had to go to the hospital.
Man, great. What?
Coke is it?
Why'd you? Okay, next. And that's
because you said I didn't think it was possible. And isn't it entertaining that someone knows how to answer that?
Judy, in that same scene with the cop.
Yeah.
Why did they cut to found footage of cops, of real cops? So she was being a trick for the cop, and then they spliced in real footage of cops. Why did they do that?
I don't even remember that.
You don't remember that?
I think they were trying to show like it was a revenge porn imagery about like getting back at cops that like to dominate and hurt innocent people. And they wanted to show images of cops being bad, and then this was the punishment. I can't think of any other explanation.
It was just like I'm watching, like what is this?
Yeah.
And it's a complete non sequitur too. It doesn't.
Yeah, something I noticed too about that scene was that I think the trick that she had before it was the main character, where it was very lovely, and she mentions the soap. Like she keeps repeating about the soap, about how pure it is. And then she jokes to the cop and he spits in her face.
Yeah.
So it's like a complete different reaction. So there's definitely, I don't know if the filmmaker was trying to say something about police officers. I don't know what police officers were like in the 80s on 42nd Street.
I think a little worse than today.
So I think it was more about the hypocrisy of like, he's on duty, right? He's not even just like an off-duty cop. He's on duty and then decides to like have this like S&M scene with a hooker that he's probably arrested her type before. So I personally thought he was making a knock towards, it was two purposes. One, he was making a knock on police officers in the 80s. And then the second one was to show that her way of existing as a prostitute was starting to break down.
Yes, I think that's good. So and the fact that like it's like she's getting punished for going after having that good experience and getting a glimpse of what her life could be in a real relationship. That almost happens. That happens a lot with people. It's like you're going down the wrong path, and then you like switch and you start doing the good thing, and then you go back, and then like God like smacks you in the face to just I think that happens for some reason.
Yeah, because that was like a turning point.
Because God is Ken Russell.
Into the third act of the film. I can't remember the timing of it, but that might have been when it went into the third act. And so she had sort of like a switch.
Here's another question for Judy. Judy.
Yes.
In Crimes of Passion, how did Anthony Perkins, the Reverend, know about the peephole right next to China Blue's place? So what happened there? Because they cut into that room and it looked kind of like a closet with a replica of China Blue's wig. He had it on the wall. I saw it. I paused it. I'm like, yep. So what was that relationship there like for you, because when the camera panned in, I saw the people. I'm like, wait, what is this? Did he read what is going on here? What did that say to you?
Well, they set up the whole character that he just like randomly sees her, and he's going to save her, like it's his next target. I didn't buy that he was. I thought this guy's just like some schizophrenic serial killer nut job in the city. I didn't buy that he was a reverend, right? He was just a crazy person.
But I think,
and I think he's living there, or he's squatting there in a closet or something.
But he did not, like, it was like the first time they met. Then later on, there's a peephole right next door to him, and that's another David Lynch thing. They don't explain that stuff because it's like cartoony enough that it goes by your suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, but that was his world. So that room is his mind. I took it as.
Oh, interesting.
He lives there, and that's not something he just accidentally walked into. He set up that room. That's where he sort of lives, and he watches her, and it eats away at him.
Yeah, why couldn't he have just mechanically speaking for a second, to answer Sean's question? Why couldn't he have simply found out where China Blue does her tricking?
Okay, one.
Then figured out there's some extra like room over there, gets that room, and then drills a hole that she never notices.
So that's a 3-step process. Okay.
Have you ever? There's many steps in being a psychopath. Like
that's the key. The word
killers just seamlessly kill people. Sorry,
Norman Bates is staring through a little hole before the shower scene.
Okay. Right.
There is a thing in film where voyeurs are shown. I know this because I played a peeping Tom was cut out in Garden State, but peeping Toms represent you watching the movie. They represent the director and the cameraman. They represent all of this. And the thing about Perkins doing that is you've seen him do this before. And it's iconic. There's a few things that are like Psycho. When they, spoiler, when they kill him, he's in a wig, just like his mother.
Yeah.
When they find Norman and his mother. And the thing is about Anthony Perkins is Anthony Perkins was a really great musical theater actor.
He's a brilliant actor. He was
a brilliant triple threat actor. And Hitch made him thought there was something hidden about him, and in truth, he led a hidden life, and I'll get back to that. But Perkins' whole career changed with Psycho, and not necessarily in a way he liked. He only came to terms with it close to the end of his life.
Because he was a prominent actor then. That's why Hitchcock cast him, because he was in a string of films from 1945 on, and everybody knew how talented he was.
Yeah, and Broadway plays. I was gonna ask you, do you ever see Evening Primrose?
No.
Okay, so we should do Evening Primrose. I asked because I was gonna ask this other question. Judy loves mannequins, or at least when I met her, she was into mannequins. And there's
the movie Mannequin.
Oh yeah, baby!
Into mannequins.
I thought you were into mannequins. I thought you were one of those people who's into mannequins.
No, I mean, I did an improv sketch with the skeleton ones that I enjoyed. It was very iconic, I guess. And I've had heads for wigs, but it's probably about it.
No, I guess I just, projected that on. I had a whole fantasy thing about.
Not all actresses like mannequins, because every actress I've ever known had mannequins in her dressing area.
This is the plot of the musical, the Sondheim musical he was in, that was made for TV. Perkins is a guy, he's a poet. He's sick of the world, sick of it. Where is he going to hide? In a Macy's department store. He's going to hide there with the crowd at night, and he's going to sleep in the beds at night and hide among the crowd during the day. Well, he's there at night, and the night watchman comes. And he's got to hide. So he gets next to a mannequin, and he does it, and the night watchman goes away, and the mannequin turns to him and goes, "Not bad for a beginner." And that's where Evening Primrose gets crazy. It's a crazy horror movie It's based off a radio play or a short story, and there's also there's a girl who was left there as a little girl. Everybody else came on their own choice to hide there, some for generations back, and this girl was left. You know how you lose a kid in a mall?
Yeah.
The kid. So they made her the servant to them all because she didn't come of her own will. She was, and of course Perkins falls in love with her because she's grown up now, and she falls in love with the night watchman. So Perkins is like upset about, but anyway, it doesn't come to it. I'll leave you for that. But Perkins was in that. Perkins did. He was the sweet guy, and then Perkins was Norman, and it was changed for him forever. And he handles this part in a way that's so, I'm going to do this thing on this line. I'm going to do something completely different on this line. I'm going to do something bizarre. Like I'm going to sit like a crow on the desk while I'm talking to her. And that's why this movie seems like scene study.
It works
at times. Like Abram was.
I would go as far as I haven't seen every movie he's been in, but I think this is the best performance he's ever given. I can't imagine he's done. It's just like he's the master. He's the master.
Have you seen Kafka's The Trial, Orson Welles adaptation?
Yes, I had it on DVD, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I have seen it, and it's definitely my favorite Orson Welles film, even though he was frustrated with it. But even that movie, I don't think he put on his the way he just went from. He kept you on your toes. You never knew what to expect from him throughout the whole movie. He kept
and that's what I love in a performance.
Incredible,
also,
and it worked. And that's hard to make that work.
Too. I liked his his costume because he had his soapbox that he brought around with him. He had a bag of tricks that you never knew what was in there too, and he always wore his frock, and he had like pins and stuff, and that I just did kind of like that. But I got a question.
What about when he's pulling the toys out of the bag?
Yeah, and it gets worse and worse, and then he had that one thing with the sharp point, which it looked like a shark's tooth, but I guess it was a vibrator.
Yes.
But they use it as a weapon later on. So I'm like, what kind of vibrator?
Very pointy.
She says, "What are you just gonna do? Fuck a girl to death with that thing?" And he's like,
"It was just
only the right one."
And that that's what happens in 7. In 7, lust.
Yeah.
Is not lust.
No, it's lust.
Cut off her nose. Which one? On?
It was lust. It was the prostitute.
What's it lust?
Yeah, she gets raped.
I thought it was it was vanity. It was vanity. I thought.
No,
vanity cut off her nose.
Vanity's not a sin. Vanity.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, the horror in 7. This brilliant performance by the guy who was forced to do it. And he's like, "Oh my God, he put the gun, I had a gun in my mouth and I did it." And you're like, "Oh my God, that's like what would happen." But it's just some poor John. But that's, I guess there are some people out there who might want a dildo that they don't use, right? That looks like that. It's like a weapon,
because it's all
and also in case somebody comes into the house, it's like cool, like people display. And then, they have their other stuff so that their sub can like imagine like, well, what if he ever grabbed that one? Oh, he would never grab that one. It's like weird shit. So, I mean, they probably have.
Now, does he kill the prostitute or I don't know if she's a prostitute, the dancer? Or is he fantasizing about it? I was confused by that. I wasn't sure.
It switches to a blow up doll.
Yeah,
and
but all the imagery, does that mean he's doing or is that just the image of him actually doing the?
I thought about reading a serial killer book, and they always talked about if the body's left up or left down, and I was like, well, maybe he did kill her, and he's imagining her. We're seeing his imagination that he only saw her as the blow up girl.
Yeah,
that's what I was wondering. Did he kill her, or was he having some like episode where he was thinking of her, but it was with a mannequin?
Or did he just kill a blow-up doll to live out his fantasy? Like which one? There's 3 options.
I think it's the latter. I think he was like fantasizing about it, and then like he slashed the doll, and then he was like preparing it's like the stages of becoming a serial killer. Like he never actually did it yet. I don't think he was a killer. I don't think he ever actually turned out to be a killer because he ended up dying in the end. I don't think he ever murdered anyone, but he was like, he wanted to. And then he like turned it around because I think he had both of those. He's a schizophrenic. I mean, the guy I think was like a total like schizoid personality.
It was that's even in the end when he breaks in and he plays on the piano.
Forget your troubles. Come on, get happy.
No,
my mother and I laughed together. No. Hard.
Before that.
Oh,
That's a Protestant death fugue. That's an ancient song. Don't. You guys never.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and then he went into come on, get that big, and that's that's what the schizophrenic it was. Even in that scene too, he did play each line different, and it just made it like creepier. And I just thought it was because I that last sequence I watched it twice. I liked it so good the first time. I had to go back and just take it all in again because it was nuts. Oh my goodness. But and some other imagery, wasn't she Kathleen Turner didn't she slash a famous painting or something?
And she has all this art that they cut to.
And she it does like
I think she
like the lovers
the one
by Magritte.
yeah.
But it's like, so those paintings are kind of meant what's going like thematically.
Yeah, because they show the kiss by Clint when she finally has
intimate love.
Yeah.
I just thought that was great. And the lovers by Magritte when their heads are in like white sheets and they're looking at each other. That was nuts. But I just kind of like that too because she is a hardworking professional executive who makes a lot of money. But yet, and so that's like the fancy painting side, and then she destroys it, kind of like how she hates herself or hates that part in her because I guess she can't have that balance, and that's why she has these two extremes or something. I just thought that was pretty sophisticated imagery there. How they did that.
Oh, I finally picked one that Sean liked.
Yes, I like. Oh yeah, because you picked kids like the last time. Okay, Abram, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
All right. So when Diana's boss, Kathleen Turner's boss, hired John Laughlin to investigate Kathleen Turner, and he's like, "Okay, I'll do the job." Then the boss just takes out a .38 revolver and hands it to John Laughlin, and he's like, "Okay, go." And John's like, "Okay." And he puts the gun in his pocket. Explain that to me.
Oh, it's utterly ridiculous. Like nothing about that whole
it was 1980s, baby. Hey,
what do you call that?
Keep an eye on her for me, okay,
like,
boss. And he takes the gun. Like
they needed to figure out a way that this regular Joe's character would end up crossing paths with her. And they picked just some over-the-top goofy shit like that. I mean,
that was so nuts.
I mean, how could they have done that better? Let's think.
I don't know. Hey, they're so nonchalant. He just takes the revolver, puts it in his pocket. Like, what about a gun registration?
Well,
it's New York City.
This is what you know. What Ken Russell? You know what Ken Russell would say to you? He would say, "That wasn't in a city. That was shot on a set." And I like the way the gun looked. And like, it's not real. It's just it's not real, bro. It's just a stupid story.
It's almost like you're watching some kid who thinks he's a genius. He writes a dirty play, and like he invites everybody to his party to see this play. And he hired like Kathleen Turner, and he found Anthony Perkins, like, feeding pigeons in the park, and he had the budget from his pen. And and he wants to show everything. He can do everything. He can do realism. He can do poetry, and so scene by scene and the lights and stuff. You're right. He doesn't give a damn.
Think about it, bro. Think about it. How many fist bumps would I be getting from you guys right now if I made this movie and we were who we are then? And I was like,
yeah,
hey,
I challenge anyone out there.
All my boys come over to the screen and look at what I got Kathleen Turner to do. Look at what I got Tony Perkins to do. And you know what? He's officiating my wedding now. We got him ordained as a minister. He did on a boat shortly after this movie. Like they were and he was drunk the whole time he made this film, from what I read. They were just partying and acting crazy and having a blast.
Yeah.
He was a tortured guy. I'm going to say this just because I think it's timely. He lived in a time so different than where we are now. He would go to parties with a beard, which is usually another actress or model, to look like he was straight. He was closeted gay.
He's not gay.
And
it's never been confirmed. I always thought he was gay.
Tab Hunter was his lover. I was finishing the story.
David Bowie slept with Freddie Mercury. Doesn't make you gay.
Listen, I'm trying to tell
okay, fine. Story, so he was deep in the closet then, because it's scrubbed.
And so was Tab Hunter. They were at a party. They got interested in each other, and they had a long, loving, if distant, friendship that lasted until Tab Hunter died. And one really can't imagine.
I'm just saying, bro. Can I just make one point? I think you might be right, but let's keep in mind this guy was married to women for most of his life.
That was the time,
and he had 8 children with them.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm not saying 100% he's straight or whatever. But I can't also say that 100% he's gay. But I will say one thing that totally supports what you're saying. I mean, I believe all the shit that you're saying he did.
Came out of musical theater, just saying.
Dude, look at his fucking movies. There's no way a totally straight guy could make a movie like that. It's just The Music Lovers. It's basically a movie with this over-the-top music about the tortured nature of Tchaikovsky's existence because he was in the closet. It's probably autobiographical on some level. So I don't know, at the end of the day, did he ever love any of his wives? I mean, I'm sure
all I know is the guy
must have liked sex enough
unhappy.
to have 8 children.
I know. All I hear about him is he was extremely polite, sweet man, but I always heard he was in the closet, and I think Tab Hunter even wrote in his in a book maybe, but I don't know. That can't be true. He might have written a book of it, and I mentioned Tab Hunter because no, Tab Hunter outlived him. I think Tab Hunter outlived him. Yeah, Tab Hunter, who went on to doing to working with Divine in that John Waters movie.
In Pink Flamingos?
No, the cowboy.
Of course, it's overrated, and we're never doing that movie. By the way, I refuse.
The cowboy one, is that Lust in the Dust or something like that?
I don't know.
I know, but he loved working for Waters, and he was supposedly in love with Tony Perkins, and Tony Perkins loved him.
I got a question for Seth.
Wait, you're talking about Tony Perkins or Ken Russell?
I'm talking about Tab Hunter and Tony Perkins.
I thought we were talking about Ken Russell.
I thought we were talking about Ken Russell too.
No,
the whole time. I was like, who's he talking about?
Maybe you guys stopped interrupting me. I told the story; it would be clearer. No, okay. I don't know about Ken Russell. Anthony Perkins is who I'm talking about.
Everybody knows Anthony Perkins was gay.
Yeah, he's gay.
Yeah, I'm not revealing anything.
I know.
About
you're talking about his tortured existence. But that's interesting that I misunderstood this whole time because Ken Russell,
8 children.
he made some super gay movies.
He was into it,
So I don't know.
I got a question for.
I'm sorry,
Seth.
dude. I'm sorry I got confused there.
So
no.
It's good radio.
This has happened. Look at the Rogan show.
Let me just talk. Okay, so Seth, in the end, when Kathleen Turner and John Laughlin get together, why does he pour liquid on her head? And what liquid was that?
I don't know. And doesn't she get baptized also by Perkins?
I don't think so.
I don't think that ever happens.
I thought
that's what I thought. He was Laughlin was baptizing her with.
That's what it looked like. That's why I'm confusing it as him doing it.
Judy, do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember that. I remember that, but I didn't think of it.
The
at all.
milk part, which is getting or liquid
I don't know
being
what it
poured
was.
on her. I don't remember.
Yeah, it wasn't water, and it was milky. I'll tell you that.
So it was probably milk.
But why did he pour it on her head?
I don't
Any
know.
artistic explanation will do, I think.
I'm sure that Ken Russell was like, I have a babyish idea that I came up with for the sex scene last night before.
Nobody remembers
I
that
like
scene.
to pour milk on their head.
No, I do. But what I was going to say too is that both the two actors, Laughlin and Turner, their characters at least, their common thing that brings them together is that they're both into this other sexuality that's not like he didn't have with his wife. And so that moment might have been like, and also because she never lets him kiss her face. So now he's doing something that's, I don't know, kind of demeaning in a way, but it's so vulnerable and personal that it might reflect a choice. Am I making any sense?
Yeah,
I guess.
You're making about as much sense out of this movie as can be made out of it.
I'm trying to like make it work.
But I do get I get that.
But don't you think if this thing got good reviews, right? Let's say it was all the same movie, but the story was tightened up with Laughlin, and Laughlin wasn't the guy they picked, and like, who would you cast from the 80s as that guy instead of him?
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis? Yeah. Balding.
Well, back then it was
Bruce
just
Willis.
receding, like Bill Murray.
Yeah.
They both had the receding hair.
Who would I
He's
pick?
the Seagram's guy. Seagram's golden wine cooler. He was all like, Seagram's golden wine cooler.
They did, yeah.
Here's another question for you guys,
Yep.
particularly Seth. What would this
Okay.
movie be if he didn't have the caliber of actors that he had in it, or specifically those actors playing those parts?
Like if he had like just
Cast of Glee.
I don't think he could have made this movie
Like,
with any other
okay, actors.
cast.
Yeah.
let's
It would
remake.
be-
Okay, who would you cast to make this movie even like just destroy it? Like make it
Make it
into a
worse?
total
Destroy it?
farce.
So a girl from the show.
Robert De Niro as the husband.
Okay, so
I-
Thinking like Anne Hathaway or something.
as the prostitute.
You know who I think would be
Oh,
great?
yeah, that would be bad.
You know who I think would be great? I think this new rebirth of Megan Fox. This new Megan Fox thing
Megan
that she's
Fox.
trying to do
Yeah, I guess.
would be
Because
perfect.
Megan Fox is throaty too. She has a throaty voice like Kathleen. And
Yeah, Kathleen Turner was known for women with throaty voices.
Yeah.
No, this movie would be a student film if it had bad actors.
I mean,
I
it
know.
is
If you
kinda
put
like a
like
student film.
Renee Zellweger in it, it would have a completely different tone.
Yeah, I can see
And that's
her.
why it's a great scene study movie,
Yeah.
because you could do it so many different ways. And the language is strange and sometimes
Mhm.
contemporary and sometimes they're
Yeah.
realistic. And I think one of the reasons for it, and his shots are always seem to be different, like it's in different genres, because she is a woman, okay, who goes out, but she doesn't need to be a prostitute.
Mhm.
And she doesn't, she does it because it's the only place that makes her feel safe in pretend land, like in cosplay land. It's cosplay for her. And then I was just thinking that's so great, because if you're going to do a character, one is just a Kathleen Turner character. And the other is like Kathleen Turner, like turned way up. She has a different walk. Remember when actors like would find walks?
Yeah.
She has this great walk. She's feels bigger than she is when she's China blue. Like it's the and the wiping of the lipstick and
The accents. She had different accents between
Oh,
China
yeah.
Blue and Diana. She didn't
Yeah.
pronounce her R's as China Blue.
But this
yeah,
is when actors
Yeah, it's
made
pretty
choices.
masterful performance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is when art changes and the way people change. And sometimes I was like, is this bad? And I was like, well, I can see the work, but you can't see the work when she's Joanna. So that's a choice
Diane.
to be,
Oh, Joanna.
When she's Joanna, just Kathleen Turner, you can't see her choices at all. But like she is doing, that's they're doing a character. And then another thing is, no one for $50 would do the things she did. To try and get someone to do those things, I think it'd be a very, very profitable venture in for someone to make money doing if they were willing to do those things. Because I don't even think guys are that creative. That's the sad thing.
That's a good point. She had a nun outfit and Lady Liberty. Now I'm thinking about it. That's kind of hot, actually. I think.
You like that, Sean?
I do. I mean, it never occurred to me, but we talked about it, and yeah, I dig it. I mean,
guys, I gotta say, this one's going really long. We should wrap here.
Okay.
And talk about Sean's movie for.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so reasons why David Lynch stole this movie from for Blue Velvet. Okay, so David Lynch, his first, he made a bunch of student films, then Eraserhead. In 79, it got released, and these were all ethereal, surreal things. Then Mel Brooks hired David Lynch to direct The Elephant Man in 1980. That is a straight narrative. It's not surreal. It's not overly artistic whatsoever. David Lynch still got nominated for Best Director, but lost to Robert Redford for Ordinary People. Anyway, okay, so there's that. Then David Lynch was a big commodity. They're like, oh, we want him. And David Lynch said, I want to do Dune. And he spent a long time. I mean, he spent on it. But David Lynch was so good. George Lucas approached David Lynch and said, direct Return of the Jedi for me. David Lynch said, no, I'm going to do Dune. Return of the Jedi was a huge film. Dune was one of the worst films of 1984, which this movie, Crimes of Passion, came out in. So David Lynch, all like forlorn, am I really artistic? I don't know. Goes to the movies for inspiration, sees Ken Russell's Crimes of Passion, and thinks of Blue Velvet.
I am
straight up.
I'm utterly impressed by this theory.
Okay. The hard lighting.
I have to go back and watch Blue Velvet again.
Okay. The hard lighting, the use of surreal imagery naturally in the scene, like her outfits. Like those, there are surreal images that don't the outfits don't match the context of the room. The investigation from normalcy into absurdity, the lack of exposition for character motivations. I mentioned those. I mentioned that the saturated colors and the movement of light. Also, Blue Velvet had that scene where her Isabella Rossellini's makeup gets all messed up, which is a good imagery, like perfect woman getting all messed up. That was in Crimes of Passion first. Also, they had backlit satin sheets. That's what like David Lynch would do in some of the scenes, especially in Twin Peaks. He would have sheets. Something would happen in the weird scene. The lights come on, and then this whole sheet had this whole thing, and you don't know really where you are. All of that was in this movie first. Okay, so just keep in mind, Blue Velvet wasn't like his prior stuff. But it was because he did Elephant Man and all that surreal stuff. But Blue Velvet was a mixture of the two, and he saw that first in Crimes of Passion.
Wow. Okay. Damn. I mean, I'm speechless. I have to go. I remember most of that film, but I really have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, check it out.
Again,
it's a great film.
Compare. It is a great film. I love everything David Lynch did. Not equally. Some of it is mediocre, but or not as exciting for me. But I'm a huge fan of his movies, and good for him. The best. That's what that's how you make art. You steal other people's shit and put a spin on it.
I'm glad he did it. I'm not criticizing David Lynch. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. My mother introduced. I
didn't know that.
Twin Peaks with my mom.
I didn't know that. I thought you would be a hater.
No, I would watch Twin Peaks with my mom when I was a child, and we would watch Twin Peaks.
Have you ever?
And I would turn to her and be like, "Mom, what was that?" No, and she turned to me like, "I don't know."
That's crazy because, bro, my sister introduced me to Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me when I was 13 years old.
Were you 13 when you saw that?
I was 13. I think that would be a great film for this podcast.
That's a good.
I was going to bring that up.
I don't know if well, it's been a long time. I'm a different
I had
version.
it on VHS.
I was very
bad.
disturbed by that movie.
It's a very disturbing film.
There's a dude on YouTube, I forget his name, but he's a nerdy looking guy and he talks to the camera. He's got horn rimmed glasses. Find him. He knows Lynch inside and out. You need to watch his stuff, then watch the movie, and then you get it. But Blue Velvet even had more of a narrative.
Okay.
You didn't know why Frank Black stole Isabella Rossellini, but you knew he was holding her hostage, and that's kind of what I mean, which leaves a lot of metaphysical space in the viewer's mind to imagine the world for themselves and take it in, as demonstrated by the clunky dialogue. Almost sounded like a Beckett play, you know.
All right. Well, I think that was the most powerful endorsement for any film that's ever been on this show. So, wow. Kudos to
it is an obscure film.
Kudos to Sean for picking up on those details. Let's get into it now. What do you have for us, Sean?
Okay, little 30-second anecdote. So sometimes I would just, in the past, I would Google like latest trailers, watch them. This one I saw in 2016, it was called The Void. And I saw the trailer and I was so impressed by it. I just Googled it for Showtime's NYC. It popped up. There was a showing 90 minutes from when I saw it on the computer. I said, the hell with this. Went down to the IFC Center, bought a ticket, saw it. It was in one of the 20-seater rooms. And it wasn't like a big screen. It was like rear project. It was a
the
giant
IFC in Greenwich Village?
Yes, I went. It was in the small room, not the main theater, but the small. Okay.
Yeah, next to the weed shop. Yeah.
Yes, saw it there. I was blown away by it. I didn't get up to pee because it was a small room and I didn't want to miss any of it too. So I had that special power on my bladder to really squeeze. Nobody else said a word the whole time. No cell phones or like whatever else. I saw it and I was like, that's amazing. As soon as it got on Netflix, because I would be searching for it, saw it again, still impressed. And I saw it another time after that because it's like only like 80 minutes. So it's not that long. So it's kind of cool. You know, it's not, you know. And then I'm going to be excited to watch it again. Abram, you said you wanted me to go dark in the last episode. It was my turn. So this is dark.
I like the sound of it.
Yeah.
It's called The Void from 2016.
Because there must have been other movies with that name.
There was like 30, but it's free on Tubi, and this is what that is what
the poster looks like.
Wow.
This is the one. So mention the V. Look at the V. This is the one, 2016. The budget was $80,000. So when you watch that, just keep that in mind. And these are made by Canadians. Those dudes get pretty ill.
I'm very excited to watch this movie.
Yeah,
Any movie that cost under $100,000 to make in 2016 and was this riveting for you, and it actually made back its money and then a little then some since then.
Seth, have you seen Phantasm?
Not yet. I will. It's October. I'm watching.
Oh, this movie is produced by Jonathan Bronfman.
And I feel directed by two guys. Yeah.
He was involved. I think Jonathan Bronfman is involved in a lot of obscure horror movies.
He knows what he's doing.
Was he the producer on that film that we're doing with the thing we're doing with Malky? The movie that she was in?
He might be. I don't know.
What was that movie called again? The
Vigil.
The Vigil.
I would love to do the Vigil on this show with Malky.
Yeah.
With Malky.
Oh, and Malky is a special guest. Yeah, that would be cool.
Special guest.
I recommended this movie to my mother.
No, this is awesome, dude. I can't wait to see this movie. I haven't even seen what it's about yet.
It's free on Tubi.
Okay.
TUBI, and it's also on Amazon too as well. So you could get Tubi for free. You might have to watch it with commercials, but it's all right. Judy, have you seen Phantasm?
I'm looking at it now. It sounds really familiar.
It's Phantasm, kind of.
Yeah. I think I have seen it, but I don't think I've seen it in a long time. I'm looking at pictures from it. I've watched a lot of horror films.
It's in a hospital. A lot of it is in a hospital.
Yeah, I think I've seen it, but I probably want to watch it again.
Yeah. So 2016's The Void, the budget was $80,000. So also, please click and subscribe. And I started an Obscuria Filmcast room on the app Clubhouse.
Amazing.
So we're going to do it tomorrow at 9, which is October 14th, 2021 at 9 p.m.
Hey.
We're going to do it.
You know, I just got an idea, and this is for all you YouTube guys. Let's say that there's actually somebody watching this right now, all the way to the end. If you don't get those likes and subscribes up, we're moving this whole show to Clubhouse.
Yeah. Well, you know what we could do? We could just have well, we can't because we need 2 phones, but or do it at a computer. We could do it both at the same time.
All right. Now we're clicking off now. Peace, YouTube.
Peace, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.
Bye.
I love